Dear devotees, welcome to the Los Angeles group presentation. Sri K. Sriram will start off with a talk on Ramana and motherhood. He is the president of Ramana Bhakta Samajam in Chennai. This will be followed by a Carnatic song by Ms. Hasini Sundaresan. I will then conclude with a talk on Sri Ramana Maharishi and Sri Seshadri Swamigal.
एकमक्षरं हृतिनिरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्. I pay my humble obeisance to our beloved master, Sri Bhagavan. My humble pranams to all Ramana devotees. Today, I would like to share with you some of my thoughts on motherhood and Sri Bhagavan. Motherhood as an exalted place in India, in our culture, which is more fittingly called the Vedic culture. In our country, the river is treated as mother, Ganga Mata. Country is treated as mother, Bharat Mata. Language is treated as mother, Mother Tamil, Mother Telugu, Mother Kannada. So, motherhood plays a very great role in this most ancient civilization. That should be the case with every civilization, I think, with every country, I think. Who will not praise the motherhood, the basis of our existence? Here, Bhagavan is a monumental example for this motherhood. It is said, there is one Sanskrit sloka, Bhu Pradakshana Shakkena, 6 times going around the earth. Kasiyatram Sadakena, going to Kashi 100 times and worshipping Kashi Vishwanath there. Even if you go only once in your lifetime to Kashi, you derive enormous benefits, punya. But just imagine 100 times if you do it. Yathalam labate, that much of going around the earth 6 times, if you going around the earth even once is difficult. And going to Kashi 100 times, what benefit you will derive? Tat palam labate matruvandane. By worshipping mother, you get such enormous punya, enormous benefit. This is the speciality of worshipping mother. Bhagavan's mother, Alagammal, she joined him when he was in Virupaksha cave. About within 3-4 months, that was in 1915. Within about 3-4 months, both the mother and son, they shifted to Skandashram. There Bhagavan prepared her for moksha. He gave her upatesas. He gave her a peace of mind about the basic principles of Vedanta in very simple Tamil words, which the mother can understand. Then, mostly directly, mostly indirectly, and sometimes directly, he used to guide his mother in the path of Vedanta. And mother, by nature, she is so pious and she is a great Shiva Bhakta. In fact, that may be the reason Bhagavan decided to take her to greater heights. And the only qualification that she gave birth to such Kailasapati, that Lord Shiva herself became her son. What more qualification she needs? Bhagavan is perfectly, he has understood all this. Then he gave her a vision that as a Nagabarana, that means as Lord Shiva. Then he gave her another vision on another day as a Jyotirlinga. When Mother was looking at him, his figure slowly melted and there was a pure white Jyotirlinga. Then Mother was taken aback. What happened, Venkatrama? What happened to you? Then slowly that vision disappeared and Bhagavan was there. And she got terribly relieved. Then she realized that it is Lord Shiva who came to this earth as her son. It's not an ordinary child. Earlier she was calling Bhagavan Venkatraman by his name. The name he was called in Madurai. But after this vision, she also started calling Bhagavan as Bhagavan. But Bhagavan was never bothered about these small things. He never asked her, why you are calling me Venkatraman and all others are calling me Bhagavan. And when she started calling him Bhagavan, he never said, why this change unnecessarily? He was just unconcerned about all this. His concern was she must be prepared for moksha. The last day came, he sat with her with one hand on the chest and one hand on the head. He fast forwarded her progress and he removed all her vasanas and made her fit and bestowed upon her the Siva Sayujya Mukti, the final goal of a human. And he confirmed it. Yes, she has attained Mukti. She has not departed. She became one with the Paramatma Vastu. That is what he said. There is no pollution, nothing. He emphatically declared. Then he built a temple. The lingam was established there. He sat there, entered in that lingam and assumed another name, Mathrubhudeswara. He went around the temple hundreds of times and sanctified the whole place. See, he showed us new boundaries, new limits when it comes to worshipping one's mother. In Satya Yuga, Lord Shiva is supposed to be the Yuga Purusha. He is held as Yuga Purusha. But he has no father or mother, so he even if he wanted, he can't build a temple for his mother. Because he never had mother. In Treta Yuga, Lord Rama, the Yuga Purusha, for that Treta Yuga, he didn't build a temple for his mother Kausalya. In Dwapara Yuga, Lord Krishna, the Yuga Purusha means if you can single out one single person as the supreme human being in that entire Yuga, he is called the Yuga Purusha. Lord Krishna was the Yuga Purusha of Dwapara Yuga, but he somehow didn't build a temple for either for his mother Devaki or his foster mother Yasoda. But Bhagavan built a temple for his mother Alakhammal. Sakshat Sarveswara, the Paramatma Vastu, decided to do this in the avatar, in Ramana avatar. That is why people say the Yuga Purusha for Kali Yuga is Bhagavan. As I said, new boundaries are created in worshipping one's mother. An extraordinary phenomena. Adi Shankara worshipped his mother. During her last days, he came to her, showed her the vision of Brahma and Saraswati, Goddess Saraswati, Mahalakshmi and Mahavishnu, and Lord Shiva and Parvati, and gave her moksha. And there are a number of instances where Jnanis gave moksha, enabled their mothers to attain moksha. Patinatar, for example, in Tamil Nadu. he requested Arunachaleswara to bestow mukti on her mother. And it happened. But it is Bhagavan who built a temple for the mother. Annai vor alayam, that is what in Tamil they say, your mother is temple. Tayi chirandador koyilumille. There is no other temple more auspicious than your mother. This is what the proverb says. And Bhagavan really, in concrete terms, built a temple for his mother. He proved mother is the temple. Not only that, when one of his primary devotees, Murughana, requested that because you gave moksha to your mother, you must give moksha to my mother too. He was demanding. This I saw in one of the divine outpourings of Murughana, Sri Ramana Deva Male. There he was pleading with a heart-melting verses that he must bestow, Bhagavan should do the same thing what he has done for Bhagavan's mother. And Murughana's mother also should be freed of this, from the cycle of birth and death. And he says, it was really, I was amazed. No? One of my friends, Venkatraman, he sent the Xerox of the whole book, Sri Ramana Deva Malai. And it was an accident. I told him in a casual way, it seems there is a book called Sri Ramana Deva Malai by Murughana. Can you send me? Yes, I will try. Then within a month or so, he sent it also. I was amazed. It was set in pure Tamil, Sangam Tamil literature. Sangam Tamil literature means about 500 BCE, 2500 years back. In that Sangam Tamil style, Murughana has sung this Ramana Deva Malai, and there it was first published in 1939 by Sri Ramana Padananda. After that, virtually that book has gone out of circulation. Virtually, it has gone out of Ramana literature. So when these things happened, very accidentally it happened, and I was amazed at the greatness of this work. And I wrote a commentary on this. So after about 80 years, in 2018 or 2021, the second edition with the commentary appeared. With the commentary, it becomes a first edition for the book. So Murughana was so highly pleased that his mother also was given moksha by Bhagavan. Bhagavan has confirmed it to him. So he wrote a very big padigam, about 11 verses, Petru Padigam, and he included it in Sri Ramana Sannadhi Mole. There he says, Vatra asaiva aridiyai vairagiyatal varapittai. You removed that entire ocean of desires from my heart and you made it so dry that that sea was totally dry now. You gave me so much of attachment. Petralannai pirarvayitil piravadirika peruvita. You made my mother also not to get into this entanglement of death and birth. Who can be more fortunate than me? Atraradaya kadavoye adiye perar petrare. Adiye perar petrare. Who is more fortunate than me? That is what Murughana sings. So friends, this great gateway to moksha, not only to us, even to my mothers, is waiting for us by the extraordinary grace of Bhagavan. That is our Bhagavan. This is the golden opportunity given to us. We are all should be so fortunate that we have come under the feet of our Bhagavan. We in Los Angeles chapter, this Ramana Satsang, we are so happy that we are part and parcel of the celebrations and the celebrations conducted on the eve of Bhagavan Jayanthi. And we thank you so much. Thanks for this opportunity. Namo Ramanaya, Namo Ramanaya, Namo Ramanaya, Namo Namo. Namo Ramanaya, Namo Ramanaya, Namo Ramanaya, Namo Namo.
Namaskaram, my name is Hasini Sundaresan. I am from Ramana Satsang, LA. Today I will be singing Namaskaram Sevom, a composition in praise of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi. It's composed by Srimati Lakshmi from Palakkad, Kerala, who along with her husband was a staunch devotee of Bhagavan. Namaskaram Sevom, Namaskaram Sevom, Arunagiri Noke, Namaskaram Sevom, Arunagiri Noke, Namaskaram Sevom, Arunagiri Noke, Dinamum Tava Ramal, Ayiram Ayiram, Namaskaram Sevom, Arunagiri Noke, Dinamum Tava Ramal, Ayiram Ayiram, Namaskaram Sevom, Arunagiri Noke, Dinamum Tava Ramal, Ayiram Ayiram, Namaskaram Sevom. Kumara Guru Paran, Kumara Guru Paran, Manilam Uivika, Kumara Guru Paran, Manilam Uivika, Ramana Swarupiyai, Amandadi Seinuke, Ramana Swarupiyai, Amandadi Seinuke, Namaskaram Sevom, Arunagiri Noke, Dinamum Tava Ramal, Ayiram Ayiram, Namaskaram Sevom. Kamane Iritavan, Yamanayum Vendravan, Kamane Iritavan, Yamanayum Vendravan, Kamaniya Rupan, Mauna Bhagavan Kamaniya Rupan Mauna Guru Vinan Ramananin Arul Petra Yamabayum Namakeda Ramananin Arul Petra Yamabayum Namakeda Adanal Anudinamum Ramana Ramana என்று அதனால் அனுதினமும் ரமணா ரமணா என்று நமஸ்காரம் செய்வோம் அருணகிரி நோக்கி தினமும் தவறாமல் ஆயிரம் ஆயிரம் நமஸ்காரம் செய்வோம் நமஸ்காரம் செய்வோம் நமஸ்காரம் செய்வோம்.
Namaskaram. I am Natarajan Venkatesan and would talk briefly on Sri Ramana Maharishi and Sri Seshadri Swamigal, the twin towers of Tirunamalai. For nearly 60 years, from 1890 to 1950, Tirunamalai, a small quiet temple town in South India, was blessed with the incarnation of two sages, namely Sri Ramana Maharishi and Sri Seshadri Swamigal, referred to as Ramana and Mahan respectively. Sri Ramanan, the late president of Ramanashramam, aptly observed, "It is known that two suns cannot shine in the same firmament. However, two spiritual suns, brighter than 1,000 suns, shone in the sacred sky of Arunachala during this period." Although Ramana has received considerable attention globally, recognition of Mahan is limited mostly to South India. Here we will briefly look at their life stories and the interaction between them. Mahan Seshadri was born in January 1870 in the temple town of Kanchipuram, also known as Varanasi of the South. Centuries earlier, Adi Sankara had founded Kamakodi Peetham, dedicated to goddess Kamakshi in Kanchi, and recruited families living on the banks of Narmada River to serve as priests. These families came to be known as Kamakodiyars, and Seshadri was born into one such family. A blessed gift of the divine, Seshadri was an extraordinary child. He acquired knowledge of Sanskrit, the Vedas and spiritual texts, and the gift of music from his father Vardarajan, mother Maragadam, and grandfather Kamakodi Sastigal at an early age. However, tragedy struck the young Seshadri in rapid succession. At the age of 11, his father passed on, followed by the passing of his grandfather and mother. Minutes before her final passing, Maragadam placed her hand on Seshadri's chest and recited the verse which states that mere remembrance of Arunachala assures mukti, that is liberation. The word Arunachala, coming thrice from the lips of his dying mother, went straight to his heart and firmly planted itself. Although he had not even seen a picture of the mountain, he could draw an exact reproduction of the five-peaked mountain. Having lost the guiding lights of his life, Mahan faced a challenging and difficult transition. Every day without fail, he would go around the Kamakshi temple reciting mantras. He would shed copious tears and call out in anguish, "O Arunachaleswara, O Shonadrisha, Mother Kamakshi, when will thou appear before me?" Living with his guardians proved to be a hurdle to his sadhana. He stopped coming home altogether, dividing his time between the shade of a tree, a deserted corner of a temple, and the funeral ground. A few months later, he became a disciple of Balaji Swamigal and was initiated into formal sannyasa, opening the gates of liberation. By the grace of Kamakshi, he realized Brahman, the ultimate truth. In 1889, at the age of 19, he set foot on the sacred soil of Tiruvannamalai during the auspicious Ratha Saptami festival and immediately went to the Arunachala temple to offer his prayers. A great sense of peace pervaded him, and he knew he was home. In Tiruvannamalai, he had no fixed home and was constantly on the move. He spent most of his nights absorbed in samadhi at the Kambatti Ilenal shrine within the Arunachala temple. He would usually walk down the market street at least once a day, mingling with storekeepers and devotees. He had conquered hunger, sleep, and other bodily needs, and would distribute most of the bhiksha to other needy persons. He was a master of siddhis and had an astonishing power of clairvoyance. He performed miracles not to gain fame or to seek personal glory, but out of his sheer benevolence for the suffering. Whether people sought him out for material benefits or for spiritual uplift, Mahan's objective was the same: to elevate them to higher levels of spiritual consciousness. His teachings were in line with the highest principles of Advaita Vedanta and did not endorse any particular method of worship. His kindness extended to animals also. Numerous cows were cured of the terrible Kumari disease because of his grace. Now turning our attention to Sri Ramana. Venkatraman was born on 30th December 1879 in Tiruchuri on the auspicious day of Arudra Darsanam. His family belonged to an illustrious lineage going back to the ancient sage Parashara, the father of Maharishi Vyasa. After his father Sundaramaiah passed on, Venkatraman moved to his uncle's home in Madurai. On hearing the name of Arunachala from a visiting relative, something deep stirred within his heart, and from that moment on, he was not the same. A year later, he was suddenly seized by an uncontrollable fear of death, and he dramatized the occurrence of death. On inquiring, "Is the body I?" some mysterious force rose within him and took possession of him. Instantaneously, he realized the self. Within his heart, Arunachala beckoned, and he could ignore it no more. On 29th August 1896, he left a note for his relatives, headed for the hill, and reached Tiruvannamalai 4 days later. He went straight to the temple, offered his prayers, and spent his time absorbed in samadhi at different places within the temple. To escape physical abuse by miscreants, Venkatraman moved to the Padala Lingam shrine underground and was lost in meditation, although attacked by insects and vermin. Several days later, Mahan Seshadri had him removed to safety and was one of the first to recognize the eminence of the young yogi. In 1899, he moved to Virupaksha cave on the slopes of the hill. He replies to questions put forward by Gambiram Seshaya in 1900, published as Self-Inquiry, and in 1902, answers to the questions of Sivaprakasam Pillai, the basis of Who Am I? Aksharamana was composed by him in 1904 for the devotees to chant while going around in the town seeking bhiksha. In 1907, a momentous meeting occurred between the yogi and Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni, a well-known Sanskrit scholar and poet who conferred the title of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi on him. In 1916, Ramana moved to Skandashramam along with mother Alagammal. 6 years later, in May 1922, by his grace, she was liberated and absorbed in Arunachala. In December, he moves down to the present site of Sri Ramanasramam. Mahan had himself declared that he was God Parvati and that Ramana was his child, Skanda. Theirs was a lifelong association filled with mutual love, respect and admiration. Often, Mahan would go up the hill to visit Ramana and share a meal. Mahan would send a devotee to Ramana on occasion, and sometimes Ramana directed his devotees to Mahan. The experience of Ardhanari, a cook in the palace of Mysore kings, is a case in point. His stomach ailment was cured after worshipping Subramanya at Parani and drinking the milk used for Abhishekam, and this kindled his spiritual interest. Eventually, he came to Ramana at Skandashramam, hoping to receive Upadesa. However, Ramana ignored him and said, "Go down." At the same time, Mahan came up the hill, hugged him, and then blessed him when he recited a verse from Tirupugal, a massive compendium of Tamil verses on Lord Muruga, composed by Arunagirinather centuries earlier. Mahan initiated him and said, "Every verse in Tirupugal is a mantra. Go and spread it everywhere." It then dawned on Ardhanari that Ramana had indeed sent him down the mountain to find his own Sadguru. He assumed sannyasa under the name of Sachidananda Swami and spent the rest of his life spreading it, and was popularly known as Tirupugal Swami. Speaking in spiritual terms, Mahan once told a disciple, "I am only a retailer earning 1,000 rupees, while Ramana is a wholesaler earning 10,000 rupees. Shouldn't you try and get at least 10 rupees from him?" A devotee told Ramana that everyone called Mahan a madman. Ramana smilingly replied that there were 3 madmen in Arunachala. One was Mahan, the second was Arunachala, and the third was himself. Once Mahan remarked that there are 3 lingams in Tiruvannamalai. One is the Jyotirlingam, Ramana Swami and I are the other 2. The year was 1929. Mahan was 59 years old and had decided to shed the mortal coil. He developed fever which persisted for more than 40 days. Extremely debilitated, he went into a state of yoga nidra, the deep sleep of the yogis, which lasted a few days. Some days before Mahan's passing, Ramana guided the construction of a Samadhi shrine for Mahan on the land adjacent to Ramanasramam. Mahan took Samadhi on the day after the shrine was completed. Ramana added solemn dignity to the occasion by his august presence. 21 years later, on April 14, 1950, Ramana entered Samadhi, and simultaneously a shooting star with a luminous tail coming from the south and moving slowly across the sky disappeared behind the top of Arunachala, with prayers to Mahan Seshadri and Ramana Maharishi. Now we hand over to the Seattle group.